Hi guys. I'm coming to you live from my bedroom today. I don't even know if I can explain this endeavor, but for my YouTube fans, anyways, I am trying to make a video for a group of people on Facebook. A dear friend of mine, Natalie, has been helping connect some of the magical pieces out there for many years. I have known her now for, I want to say 8 years. She and I met actually on a bee venom group, a live bee venom group, back when I was using that to treat. I went through 3,000 bee stings. I did it at home with my husband. I don't think she ever did it. I think she was looking into it because of she thought she had Lyme, but it turned out not to be the case. Either way, somehow her and I connected, and it took me a while before I even realized that's where I picked her up from, because I was collecting friends all over the place. At the time, I was building a support system that saved my life. Because unfortunately, when you find out that you're up against complex illness such as Lyme disease or multiple chemical sensitivities or mold or heavy metals, whatever you want to call it, because they're really all bundled together. And at some point I did stop saying Lyme this, Lyme that, because it was just programming me. But I did have some biomeridian feedback testing where they send sound waves. You hold on to these probes and they match sound frequencies with the organisms that they find. And they did find a whole mess of things, which is no surprise since I grew up in the woods. I think there's a lot more to it than that, though. Congenital Lyme, I think, is definitely a thing. Lyme wasn't really a problem until GovCo got a hold of it and played with it to release probably on their own people, if not, as the story goes, on Cuba. But how they would have not thought that it would get to us is doubtful. I'm very congested today and detoxy and orthoxy. They kind of go hand in hand, don't they? So I apologize. I've been trying to get this video done for a while, but I had some outstanding things that I had to deal with first. And December has been a wall up of a month. I don't know how yours is going. I am grateful to know that there's been these solar storms going on, because otherwise I've been in a pretty rough spot. A couple near-death experiences. Just got back from Wisconsin to visit family. Barely pulled that one off. I ended up the first day of December breaking out in fever. And that was right at the 30-day mark of doing pretty strict, actually very strict, carnivore diet. And so I wasn't sure how much of it was detox and how much of it was an actual flu, which I go back and forth on how I feel about illness in general. Whether it's like a terrain theory thing and we all kind of pass along detoxes from each other, like, oh, they're detoxing that, so seems like a good time for me to detox that. Or I could see that the contagion theory could be a very beneficial thing for the powers that be, and that maybe that is not how it goes down. And when you put that out of your mind, the level of peace that comes with that, and it was really weird actually. There have been so many brain adjustments when I started carnivore, and that was one of them. Like all of a sudden, I just wasn't afraid anymore. I wasn't afraid of that shit. I wasn't. I really haven't been for a long time. I mean, not. I didn't think I was, but then on some level, there was still always this deep, lingering fear, and especially for what I've been through with my own health and my daughters. I have twin 9-year-old daughters. I've told some of you that the YouTubers, and like I said, I'm trying to make a double duty video here, so that way my YouTube vlog that is fairly new gets a little more information about who I am, and then also to see if this video will trigger any connections in that group of magical people that I have been very inspired by and have really done more for me than maybe they know, than they could imagine, really. Um, just having a network of support there has been very important. And there were days where I didn't feel like I had anybody. And Natalie helped bring me together with, first with a smaller group and now maybe with a bigger group. Yeah, I think I cut myself off there. But when you find out you're dealing with complex illness, people of the conventional belief system, which is most of the world, they seem to hightail it out. And looking back on it, I get it. I suppose I would have done the same thing if somebody just started radically yelling at me and saying everything I do and know is wrong, and don't go to the doctor, instead just start drinking your pee, or I mean, the numerous things that I have done on this journey. Yeah, so that's a bit of that. So my daughters were born extremely premature, 3 months early. They were 28 weekers, weighing 2 pounds 6 ounces and 2 pounds 8 ounces. Luckily, all things considered, they were fighters, and their organs were just barely developed, but developed. So we were very lucky. I can go into more detail about why I think they came early and all that, but I don't want to get this video flagged and stuff. So I'll just say that I was really, really sick when they were in my womb. I was sick a long time before that. I had always wanted a family. I had gone to every doctor imaginable, all the specialists, went to Chicago. And yeah, the same old story that, many people have. I had cystitis and seasonal depression and fibromyalgia and all kinds of shit. And it turned out to be all kinds of shit, but in a whole different way. Mercury in my mouth, mold in my house, trauma from this life, from past lives, from my ancestors. Glyphosate poisoning. yeast, chronic sugar addiction. Even though I thought I ate healthy, I was eating granola bars and Greek yogurt with cherry juice on top, or yeah. Um, I'm still trying to figure out the ins and outs of the diet thing, because this last detox scared the crap out of me. Oh man, I'm all over the map with this video. I'm sorry, you guys. So the fever kicked in, potentially a lack of salt. And I felt like I had brain swelling. It was really scary and really awful. And I was throwing every tool at it I could imagine. Finally, my husband forced some ibuprofen on me, which I just don't do conventional anything anymore. And that got whatever was going on in my head to calm down, and my body aches. And so I stayed on that for a handful of days, but I have not been myself this whole month. So back to the girls. The girls have been on a healing journey themselves this whole time. They had some stuff go down at about 18 months where they slipped into autistic symptoms, and it has taken us all this time to bring them back slowly, through diet and through all the healing modalities. But then my one daughter, she has fevers sometimes, and that has triggered seizures. So I thought I was okay with the whole illness thing and not being afraid of germs, but on some level I still am traumatized and clinging to the avoidance of it. I muscle test. That's one of my big superpowers that I figured out. And I muscle test supplements and helpers, tinctures mostly, all the time, and keep us healthy. And this was the first round of illness we had been through since for a year. So it kind of was a kick in the groin, because I thought maybe I had finally had it figured out with herbs and everything, and and didn't have to go through this anymore. Luckily, no seizures, because my kids got sick around Thanksgiving. But they're on a magnesium protocol, so I think the seizure thing is a thing of the past. I sure hope so. Yeah, it's been a rough one, probably for all of you guys. All right, so what I have to offer is nothing in the way of sales, but in the way of inspiration and humility. I am an open box. I love to be creative. Some of that's just coming back now after a long time away, just struggling to be alive. Time. Okay, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I started this vlog under the cover of it being a dance vlog, which I have some tricks up my sleeve, some artistic announcements, I guess you could call them, coming up. So that'll be fun. It was inspired by my new journey to dance. My kids have been in dance for a long time, and I heard a message from my higher self that said, yes, this is something you need to pursue. It's something you've known before, and you need to get back to dance. So I am taking private lessons from their same teacher, and it's going very well. It's fun. I found some uplifting happiness in it, and in doing something for myself and starting to work more on exercise and being able to. And then that dovetailed with a chiropractic journey that I'm going through. Um, yeah, so if you have any interest in hearing my ramblings, most of the time they're a bit clearer than today. Head on over to YouTube. It's Heather Healing Hairy Dancer. There's this whole hair story thing too, but I won't get into it. But yeah, I don't shave. So there's that. Um, and then on Facebook, I am Heather Healing, although I'm not on there a lot anymore. I post the links to my YouTube videos and will probably continue doing so. So if you don't feel like subscribing to YouTube, then you can hit me up on Facebook and hopefully I catch your friend requests and you can be notified of my postings that way. I love writing. I love the woods. I love poetry, but really like the rhyming kind. Okay, maybe I don't love poetry. Maybe I love my poetry. Is that? I know. I can come off a little self-centered, but I'm thrilled with the gifts I've been given. Maybe not my hair right now. I got that cut and I think I jumped the gun. It's because it was finally getting soft on carnivore and I was like, oh yes, I want to cut and shape. It was all long and stringy, but now it's just dry and. But, yeah, this little 5'2" vessel and my amazing natal chart. And I don't know a ton about astrology. I have a friend who is a naturopathic doctor who I met, I think in my 20s. Her name's Rosemary. She's a sweetheart. And she helps me along with astrology. She's well in the know. And then learning from Natalie and from some of you others. But I have a interpersonal planet, stellium, so 3 planets in Pisces. My Sun, Venus, and Mars. So you don't get more creative and feely than that, really. And then this whole giant stellium of outer planets in Libra. So fairness, equality. I don't know. I haven't dove into that as much as maybe I should. And then my North Node is in Leo. So I'm starting to do what I have put here for, which is to shine my light. And I'm not sure I'm so shiny today, but I'll get there. Yeah, so that's my astrology. Oh, and a moon in Capricorn, which keeps my butt grounded, which is good because otherwise I'd probably float away in the clouds. I can get pretty dreamy. I have big dreams, huge dreams. I know they're going to play out a bit in these next coming years, and I'm really excited. I see 3 I don't know if they're best-selling books. Maybe one will be 3 books. I want to live in a farmhouse, although we're battling mold here in a 1970s house. So the idea of going further back and getting older and crustier is a bit terrifying, but I just it's a dream of mine. And like, actually, I see it as a living thing, and to nurture one of these homes and protect it and preserve it is definitely a path of mine. I hope to have some property. I don't know how to avoid the ticks, but that's a whole nother subject. I also don't fear that. Me and the girls, we were doing this wild school group, and we get out there and we do our hikes and we spray ourselves down and we check, and they can't stop me from being connected to nature. I think that was one of their goals, honestly, is to very much catch all us woodland witches and take us out. Past lives, I could go on and on. So I've been having energy. Oh, my little squeaky buddy. Can you wait a minute? I have two Maltese toy poodle Lhasas, and I gotta let him out. They're old. They're 15 and a half. Okay, sorry. God, how many times have I said in this video? It's awful. Alright, I'm gonna have to wrap it up because I don't want to take your time with all my bleh. But past lives, I could go on and on. I've had healing sessions, energy medicine, Reiki, for going on for about 7 years now. So most of my information on past lives comes from either Natalie or from lots of bits and nibbles from the Reiki sessions. They give them signs. So a Roman soldier helmet told me that that I had a Roman soldier past life. And then that one connected with my husband. And thank goodness I just let some of that stuff go, because he was a pain in the butt to work with until I released some of that. Although I know we're good to go now. And we have been for a while. But there was a time I certainly didn't know if we'd make it. We had so much trauma going on from the Lyme treatment and me falling bedridden, and I would just scream at him all day. How could you leave me here? How could you go to work? But I was stuck here with encephalitis and raising 2 toddlers, and left with no way to fend for ourselves as far as food and such, because he worked so much against his will. It was dark. I can't believe I survived it. It was the darkest thing I've ever been through. Between that and then the NICU babies, and they both had heart surgeries, but we were forced to be reckoned with. We're stronger than ever. So, past lives, I could sit here and ramble. Ideally, I want to get a little booklet and write down, go through all my notebooks and go through my notes and write down all the different characters that we've met through symbolism mostly. But there are a few that have personally reached out. I am a bit clairaudient and claircognizant. More and more, as time goes. And it's always such a gift when the veil is thin and when anything reaches through, be it a word or a face or a whatever. There's been a Haitian girl. This one's gonna sound deep and maybe a bit off, but Amelia Earhart. That one came through, was one of the first, and not for me, but for my earlier energy medicine practitioner. And I do believe it's true. I've reached out to her enough times that, yeah, and I was always drawn to her. I mean, who wasn't really? But I think it's more than an archetype, honestly. And I do think she was murdered. I think things were tinkered with, and um, I do have a fear of dying in an enclosed space. I used to be terrified that our school bus was going to fall off this curvy road into the pond and that I'd be trapped. But I think some of that is, like tick-borne illness and stuff too. You get irrational fears, but maybe these weren't so irrational. There was a chieftain that the next energy practitioner sees. I don't know if it's Scottish or Irish or Viking, but he's reached through before and told me I was some kind of encourager. That I went to battle, but I wasn't a fighter. I was the rally the troops, and I was told to do it again when he reached through, and that was amazing. At one point, I got my hands on some Scottish heather, and I instantly started crying. There's definitely a connection there, a connection with a female past life. When I was growing up, I saw a couple images in my adolescence, probably right before they put the mercury in, which would explain why everything got shut off. And one was a green, maybe even a velvet dress with long red spiral curls, and she was walking into the entrance to our woods, my most sacred spot. And I didn't know if I was just making this shit up or what. And then an Indian group on horses riding across the field as my sister and I, my younger sister, were 13 months apart. We were playing cowboys and Indians. So again, I didn't know if I just made that up. And then another time I was I made up a spell. I couldn't find something as a kid that I wanted to find. And I said, well, if I run around this recliner 3 times, and then I do this 5 times, and I had all these different steps, and at the end I actually found what I was looking for. And I thought, wow, that was I could feel that there was something there. And then at one time I was so mad at my mom. I said all kinds of nasty things, like in my head. I wish she wasn't here, and then she got in a car accident. Another time I did a spell on a little boy's picture that I was in love with in middle school. And I took a rock and I rubbed it on his face with some chamomile tea sprinkles, and it tore the eye of the picture. And then I went to school the next day, and he had a big gash by his eye. And at that point, I thought, I better leave that alone. I don't know what just happened there, but that's too much for me. And I see why I left it alone too. Lifetime after lifetime of being executed and persecuted, just for using the gifts that we all inherently have, the gifts that have been blocked. I find it so fascinating. I know the door's open and my kids are being silly. So I should let you go on that note. I don't know if anybody recognizes me or whatever in this rough state, but it's a pleasure knowing you all. It's a pleasure to get to know you. I hope you give my vlog a listen to sometime. I tend to ramble on a bit too much sometimes, but I just love talking, and I love life, really. I didn't go all the way to death's door to come back and be mediocre. I'm gonna do some shit. I got some land acquisition stuff I've been working on over these last years that has come to fruition and is exciting, and I'll announce that along the ways. But yeah, I homeschool my kids, or try to unschool, I guess you could say. But you know what? We're wild and we're free and we're happy and we get to play and we're not locked in boxes. And it's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to Yule starting. We do the 13 days of Yule where we just do crafts and fun. And this year I'm hoping to do some baking finally. And it's going to be all good. So the countdown has begun to Fun Town. All right. I'll talk to you guys later.